Welcome to Downshift, everyone. My name is Paulo.
And my name is Matt.
And we just spent a week with the all-new 2025 Chevy Equinox.
Which is very good, and it competes directly with the car that my wife and I just bought. This is our new to us 2023 Honda CRV. We're going to see how these two stack up.
All right, well, welcome.
Welcome.
So I think you've probably watched a few of these. We have a standard list of things that we go through.
Yep.
First one being, we'll talk about the engines and the powertrains.
Yes, so both are 1.5 turbocharged 4 cylinders. And
Chevy makes 175 horsepower, 203 pound-feet of torque. The Honda makes, which is actually quite a bit of torque.
Yeah, it is. You can feel the torque down low.
Yes.
Once you start to get higher into higher speeds, then the horsepower kicks in, and then you're like, okay, would like maybe a little bit more muscle, but down low on the street, pulling away from like a stoplight, really torquey. Feels pretty peppy.
Yeah, I don't think it lacks any power by any means.
I don't think so.
The Honda has 190 horsepower, 179 pound-feet of torque.
So
Chevy
more
has
horsepower but less torque.
Correct. The Chevy has the 6-speed and the Honda has a CVT.
Yep, sure does.
Miles per gallon, Chevy 26. I was getting a little bit less than that.
And I got a little bit more, so I think 26 is probably somewhere in the middle. It's probably pretty accurate.
The Honda gets 28 mpg city. You have it here.
Yes, so it'll get, so that's just in the city. It'll get even better in mixed driving and on the highway.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's kind of the biggest complaint that people have with the Equinox. There's two things from a powertrain perspective. One, it's a little low on horsepower. I'm kind of over that. It has enough power to feel completely appropriate on the road in the real world. If you're going to split hairs, yes, the Honda has more power, but that's perfectly fine to me.
I think it has adequate enough power for your daily needs.
And I would say the torque is really the more important thing. That's what people feel.
Yeah.
When you talk to a normal person that's not a deep car enthusiast, what they say is, oh, it's got punch off the line.
Right.
It feels like it's got some get up and go. And that's torque. That's low down torque, and that has that. So I think that's perfectly fine. The other thing that people complain about with the Equinox is it's a little thirsty. And I think it's kind of marginal. It is a little thirsty, but I think it's kind of marginal. But the bigger thing is that this comes with a hybrid. Mm-hmm. This one specifically is. The one that my wife and I bought is a 2023 CRV Sport Touring Hybrid. You cannot get a hybrid on the Equinox, which is shocking to me.
It's a bummer.
In this class.
Yeah.
The Mazdas now come with it in its CX-50. The Subaru is going to have one next year. The Hondas obviously have it. The Toyotas have it. All the Koreans, the Tucson, the Sportage, the whole thing. Like, everyone has a hybrid now. I want to see it here. I think Ford has one in the Escape.
Yeah, hopefully that's within the next few years.
Yeah.
They decide to bring one in here.
Right. So then in the city, then this with a hybrid is getting like 40 mpg.
Yeah, which is incredible.
It still gets like 30 on the highway, but still, that's still better than what you're going to get here.
Yeah.
So.
I think the only other thing I'd say, the exhaust note in terms of powertrain doesn't really sound that great in the Chevy.
A little raspy.
Yeah.
It feels very Chevy driving it.
It
like
does.
if you've been in a Chevy or a GM product before, it feels very familiar. The sounds are very familiar.
Yes.
Power is very familiar.
In terms of the systems, you have a front-wheel drive standard on both, but can equip all-wheel drive if you'd like.
Indeed. Indeed.
I don't know if there's anything.
Yeah, net for net there. It's equal.
Driving experience, I think I kind of mentioned mine is like a little bit, from a Chevy perspective, it's a little bit raspy. I think you can hear more of the road noises compared to the Honda. I think it's just a bit more of a refined experience behind the wheel.
I noticed that as well. Behind the wheel of the Equinox, there's just a little bit more road noise coming in. There's a little bit more noise coming off the A-pillar on the driver's side. And I feel like the suspension is a little bit wallowier. Mm-hmm. Now, that can be a pro or a con depending on who you are. I kind of like the old school, like American boat kind of wumpy, floaty ride. It does lend itself to feeling comfortable and not harsh or Germanic.
Yeah.
But this Honda feels a little bit more sophisticated with its damping. It isolates things out a little bit more. It's a little quieter on the road. But I still like driving that.
Yeah, so do I. I think the only other thing that really sticks out from a driving perspective is I felt like the seat was comfortable, but I couldn't get my seat position in a comfortable spot in the Chevy. Mm-hmm. Whereas I
feel really high in the Chevy.
Yeah, that too.
Really high.
I don't like. I just feel like I was able to get my seat really comfortable in the CRV a lot more quickly than I was in the Chevy.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, for sure.
But
both, I would say, behind the wheel, nice. Honda's just a little nicer.
A little bit more refined.
Yeah. It's a little bit that half step towards a more luxury tier product.
Agreed. The next is styling, which we obviously know is a bit of a subjective thing to discuss, but
I realized today that we're shooting in like a very foggy, gloomy day, and we have like foggy, steely blue cars, but they match, so it's easy to compare them, at least looks-wise. They both have like black or kind of diamond cut wheels. For me personally, I like the look of both of them.
Yeah.
I think the Honda looks a little bit more reserved and a little bit more designed, and the Chevy looks a little bit busier or more styled, if you kind of follow what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think the Equinox looks a little bit more sporty, and I do like how they did the two-tone with like the black roof. That's, I think, a nice design element that they incorporated into it.
I do like what Chevy's done with the Equinox line though, because there's three trims that you can get. You can get a base, which looks basic, but you can get the RS, which is like the sporty, aggressive one with the black wheels and the special grille, and then you can get an Active, which is a little bit more rugged, let's say. And then there's like little details that are more interesting about that. So they've kind of split the lineup into different personalities.
Yeah.
The Honda is like, if you go for base, you get the silver wheels and it can look fairly basic, and then you got to go up to sport touring if you want like the black wheels and the black grille and the black treatments, and you can make it look good. But I think the Chevy is kind of cool in the way that you can split personalities a little bit, whether you want a sporty one or a rugged one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think both look pretty good.
It's a good call out. I think one thing we forgot to mention during the behind the wheel or the driving impressions is you don't have a sport.
Yeah.
You don't have like a sport mode in this.
This says RS on it.
Yeah.
Which in the past has stood for Rally Sport or something to that effect. And there's no sport mode. There's a huge dial in the cabin for the modes.
You only have, I believe it's like, snow.
Yeah, there's like normal snow.
And I think it's like mud terrain.
Yeah. So there's no eco mode and there's no sport mode.
Yeah, very interesting.
Which is, yeah, it's very interesting. Because I feel like you could kind of repurpose a slippery mode as an eco mode because it's going to cut power, it's going to accelerate more gradually.
Yep.
But to have like an off-road setting and not a sport mode in something wearing an RS badge, I think is a little funny.
I think so too.
What are you going to
do? Sorry for jumping around there, but okay, so the next thing is trunk. So Honda's trunk is significantly bigger. It's about 10 cubic feet bigger with the seats up or down.
Yeah, this is along with the RAV4 the largest in the segment. I think the Forester might actually be up there as well now, but this is just a little bit smaller. But I would say, like, looking at the actual space itself, it doesn't, like, it's still practical, right? It's still reasonably practical. You can get just as much stuff in, not just as much, but a good amount of stuff in. It's just if you really need that last bit of cargo space, the Honda, the RAV4, the Forester, they're going to give that to you.
Yeah.
But it's not like the Chevy's impractical.
Next thing we have is towing. So it's about 1,500 pounds for each. I think the only thing I would really call out is the CRV has the CVT, so it might just feel a little bit less natural compared to like your traditional 6-speed that you would get in the Chevy, but I don't really think we need to spend too much time on towing.
I don't know how many people are going to be towing with these things. The only thing that I might say is, I might be remembering this wrong, but I think the hybrid reduces your towing to about 1,000. But yeah, I mean, if you need to tow, let's say 1,500 each side.
Yeah. Okay, so talking about the rear seats, Chevy offers heated rear seats.
Yeah, it's a decent size. The ones in the Honda are a little bit bigger, but you don't get a panel roof, whereas you do in the Equinox. I have the Sport Touring. No heated seats in this car. There's speculation that it might be an added individual option, an a la carte option. So somebody in the comments, please confirm that, or maybe we will in editing. But
it is interesting. You can't unlock it by getting a certain trim level. It's still an added option. Yeah,
I mean, this Sport Touring is the full beans, everything that you could, everything you could get, and it doesn't have it. So internet maybe saying one thing, we'll figure it out in editing when we post this. But no, I think the back seats in the Honda are a nice big size. I would like a pano roof, but you get chargers, map pockets, the whole thing. I think you get more stuff in there. Obviously you get the heated rear seats in the Equinox, you get the panoramic roof, not in this one, but you can get it for like $1,500 in the Equinox, and I think that would be nice because that black cabin would feel a little bit bigger with more light coming in.
Yeah,
I like the detailing in there. You get some orange stitching in the back of the Honda and all over, but
I mean, I'd say, like, obviously the CRV has more room just in general, as we kind of discussed with the rear seats and the trunk space, but there's enough room in the Equinox for me to sit very comfortably. There's no headroom issues or near room issues. Like, there's plenty of room.
Yeah. When we say stuff about the Equinox, like, oh, it's less or it's worse, it's marginal stuff.
Yeah.
It's not like it's impractical. The trunk space is still good. The back seat space is still good for 6-footers. or 6'9" or whatever you were at.
Yeah, 6'9",
But it's but it's still a totally practical thing.
Yeah.
So it depends. Do you want more features? Go Chevy. If you want a little bit more space, Honda.
The next is cabin experience. So, I mean, I think Chevy did a really good job with the redesign in 25. I think it definitely feels a bit more minimalistic and more like modern feeling in the Chevy. I mean, I feel like I was expecting for me to experience worse quality of materials, but like it's still a Chevy in terms of the materials I use. But I was actually kind of surprised, like turning on the like the vents on and off, like that
like
click
in the turbine
actually
thing?
sound like it. That feels
That has a
very,
nice satisfying click to it.
yes, like it feels kind of expensive and things like that.
Yep.
I think that the CRV is a bit more refined though.
Yeah. The Honda. So both of the interiors are black. This has the orange stitching. If you don't get this blue color, if you get a couple other colors, you can get like a lighter interior. I don't know about the Equinox, but you have a black interior there. But in the Honda, you have the orange stitching on the seats. You have like the full dash honeycomb kind of venting that you would see in like an Audi. A lot of the like little knurled silver knobs for like your temperature and climate does have a nice satisfying click. So I think it's put together well, but the Chevy definitely feels more modern.
Yeah.
And there's so much more detailing and texturing going on. Like the door card has like a texturing from the soft touch material. The center console has a texturing. The seats have like blue and red and embossments, and there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
There's that gradiented red thing across the dash. So there's more going on, there's more happening there. I do think the leather feels a little bit better in the Honda. It's the Chevy leather that we've tested a number of times this year. It feels just a little bit more rubbery.
Yeah.
But you do have cooled seats, right?
Yep.
So you have heated and cooled seats, just heated seats in the Honda. So if you do get a little rubbery hot bottom, then you can turn your cooled seat on.
I feel like Chevy's doing a nice job, especially with this, kind of just like elevating the interior experience. I think that kind of segues nicely into the tech, which from my perspective is probably one of the more important things when looking at a car, specifically when you're just talking about like the experience. And I think that the Chevy did a phenomenal job with the redesign. You have a fully digital dash, wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto.
I think you've got like Google built in, fully digital screen. The center screen is big, feels modern.
Yeah, you have a rear view video as well.
Yeah, your digital rear view mirror. You got 360 camera where you don't hear. So
I think this tech stack is really good.
That tech stack is better.
Yeah.
We're talking about a lot of things marginally, but that tech is better. It's a more reliable connection. Now this is a new car. Like we've had this for less than a month, but there's been no connection issues so far. But I know especially like our friends that have Type Rs have some like wireless CarPlay connection issues at times. I've never experienced that in any of the Chevys or GM cars that we've tested. So I really like the tech suite there. This is good, fine, but there seems to be like a film over the center screen that's, kind of like gradients and peaks weird with like how Spotify's screen interacts.
Yeah.
There's no head-up display. It's a semi-digital cluster. And it's like these are kind of nitpicks, but when we are comparing it, the tech is better on the Chevy.
Well, and I just feel like that makes it seem a bit more luxe to certain people, right? That
it's more packed. It's more modern.
Yes.
It's more advanced, you could say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else on tech?
No, I think it's Chevy. Chevy gets the point.
And now we'll jump to the safety. So I think as they're spec'd, this has an additional safety package on it. They're essentially equal, but as standard, the CRV comes with more advanced safety features than the Equinox.
But that one doesn't have lane keep.
Correct.
Even with the more advanced package.
Yes.
So this does have lane keep.
But this does have a heads-up display flashing light for the braking and things like that, which you don't have.
Cool, but this has lane keep.
I mean, that is a pretty big one. But how well does it work, though? Because I feel like half the lane keeps are kind of gimmicky.
This one works pretty well. Not great. It's not Super Cruise, which is what I wish was in there.
Yeah.
That's really what I'm trying to get at.
But for $38K, like, do you really expect Super Cruise?
What I've seen from, like, upper, more expensive, bigger stuff from Chevy is it's like a $7,000, $6,000 package.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd like to see it, but you're right, I don't expect it in this class.
I mean, that would actually
but it would be super nice.
It'd be interesting, like, if they offered it as an option, would anyone
How many
equip
people
it?
would pay the extra $6,000 or whatever it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be interesting. But no, I think I'm happy with the lane keep and the driver's assist stuff here. That adaptive cruise works pretty well, but it's just missing that lane keep aspect.
I think you can equip them essentially equal, but the CRV definitely comes with more. We'll go into the price now. So the Chevy starts at about $1,500 less than the Honda.
Yeah. Good value.
Okay, wow, you really
That's
cut
what
down.
I wanted to say less.
Okay.
I was rambling on the first take.
Okay, so I think, so 37, so that means that the CRV is 38.5. This one's spec'd is about 38.5, just for reference with the safety and technology pack. I think we can move on from price. They both have great value.
I don't have anything else to say.
Okay, good to know. All right, the last thing I wanted to cover is just the warranty and maintenance and depreciation. So warranties, they both have the same 3-year, 30,000 miles, bumper to bumper, and then they have the 5-year, 60,000 mile powertrain. And then I was just doing some research in terms of like the cost of ownership from a depreciation perspective and maintenance perspective. And it was significantly in favor, this should not be a surprise,
this is not breaking news.
The CRV. But I just think that is interesting. You can do, there's some calculators out there that you can do some modeling of like cost of ownerships, and I think it's an important thing to do when you're buying a new car.
Yeah.
To just check out how that factors in for when you're going to resell it in 2, 3, 5, 7, 8 years from now.
Yeah. Consumer Reports did just come out with their latest reliability index. There's a star next to it because they include like tech and infotainment stuff in terms of reliability. I view reliability more as like, is my car going to turn on and get me A to B?
Yeah.
Which I think is how most people, but that being said, since there's more tech in there, the Chevy has resulted lower on the reliability index, and the Honda's, of course, at the, near the top, within the top 10, with the Subarus and the Toyotas and the Lexuses and things like that. So it is going to be a little bit more reliable. You will spend a little bit less money. It's going to have better resale value. But I will say this new generation of Equinox is very good. It's very complete, and I think it will age better than in previous generations and hopefully keep more of its value than it has in the past.
I think so too. And I've been seeing a lot of them on the road too.
Yeah. I mean, they're cool. They look good. They're well optioned. They're practical. So.
The tech. And I think that's like one of the main drivers for people buying a car is...
Oh yeah, especially in this class.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think with that, these two compete pretty close. If it's me and my money, obviously I made my choice, but that's because the hybrid is important to me. So I would like to see a hybrid in that. But other than that, these are both great cars. I don't think you're going to make a mistake either way.
I think so too. Do you want to talk about price at all anymore?
No, I don't want to talk about price anymore. I'd like to end the video. So thank you to you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.